The biggest key with AI is you use it to enhance, but you don't use it to replace. And what you don't want kids doing is just using AI to solve problems, to write papers and do things, which is going to stunt their growth and their own development. You're really teaching kids to use it as an opportunity to enhance what they're doing, but not replace what they're doing. AI cannot replace their own learning and what they need to do each and every day.
You're listening to the SmartSocial.com podcast, your trusted source for real-world tactics that keep students safe and help them to shine online. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. Each week, I sit down with K-12 superintendents, district leaders, and community voices who are shaping digital safety. We discuss wins, struggles, and strategies used to guide students so they can be safe and successful online.
My name is Eric Truman. I'm the superintendent of the Central Dauphin School District. Central Dauphin has 19 schools currently. Next year, we will have 23. As we move forward with full-day kindergarten, we have approximately 12,500 students who come to the schools in our region.
Superintendent, it's so great to have you here today. Hello to our amazing listeners. You're all over the country, and whether you are a parent, a guardian, or a superintendent, or any one of the amazing people who listens in between, we're here rooting for you. We're all about keeping kids and students safe online so they can someday be successful. Successful means that they're not only learning in the classroom and doing great things, but they're also shining online someday. They're using all these tools that we talk about as a portfolio of positive accomplishments to make sure that they're doing great things. And I have an absolute amazing guest here today, a superintendent. Hey, superintendent, I want to hear from you first, a little pop quiz. Where did you start your educational career? What kind of a teacher did you start out as?
Well, I started at 10th and Penn Elementary School as a fifth grade teacher. That was back in 1997.
Amazing. You lit up right there, which is amazing. And I think that's why we're all doing this, is you get excited about that. After that, were you principal for a little while?
I was a principal of a middle school for 2 years, and then also a principal of a high school for 10.
Amazing. It's so great to have you here today. And I want to tap into the teacher side, the principal side, and the administrator side today, if that's okay, as now you're a superintendent. So after 250 plus of these district leader conversations with, quite frankly, countless superintendent peers that you have nationwide in 43 plus states, we've heard some consistent trends. And here's some of the trends we're hearing. And they're not perfect everywhere, but you'll be surprised at how much in line this is with each community nationwide. We're hearing that hidden direct messages are often a problem, dangerous TikTok challenges, group text messages. Students are now chatting with AI as a therapist, which is so troubling. And they're still chatting with all the unknown people that we used to have back in the day, right? And then inappropriate content off campus. It becomes a problem on campus on Monday morning when that's an on-campus over the weekend problem, many principals tell us. And also there's screen time and phone addiction that we're hearing from a lot of superintendents and district leaders nationwide. Out of what you see on the screen here today, what trends are you seeing or have seen in the last few years in your community?
Well, I'll probably say if you look on the right-hand side, there's three that you can probably really lump in together. The hidden direct messages, these group text messages, and then them also being inappropriate. So we have had to really buckle down and really talk about policy in terms of students not realizing that they're putting a message out, whatever social media platform, but they're making a threat to a school or they're making a threat to another student. So we've had plenty of situations where we've had to send police out to the house. You've had to have police involvement because students are sending messages. It's either a group message or some type of social media message to friends. And now 9 times out of 10, students are taking this as a joke. But the unfortunate part is, we live in a world right now where any type of threat you get like that, you have to view it as credible and you have to do your due diligence to make sure that all students and staff are going to be safe. So if I had to put my finger on one thing right now that we've been dealing with is these messages that kids are sending to friends or posting on social media where they're trying to be funny and making some type of threat to the school or someone else. And, it's a full-time job now where you now have to, anytime you get a safe to say or anytime you get a phone call, like you have to follow up very quickly to make sure everybody's safe.
For our audience knows I take a lot of notes because I'm here learning from you, Superintendent. Your decades of experience really become a backbone of Smart Social being the best at protecting kids. I wrote down the words, putting a message out. And that's, to me, it kind of means it's rhetorical and literal. And we someday right now, if we're in middle school or high school, we are creating a portfolio and we're putting a message out about our brand that could be somewhat negative, snarky, bad. And there's a threat that you talked about. It's a full-time job being a detective. I added those words I put those words, if you will, after that. So students put a message out quite literally and they're creating a brand, but then also at the end of the time, they could threaten the school, threaten a kid, bully on accident or intentionally. And also they're changing their image in the long run and they're putting that message out. So I so agree with you. I like the way you said that. So good. Are there any other ones that maybe have been a trend in the last few years?
The screen time and phone addiction is definitely one where, that has been something that you've seen. If you go to confiscate a student's phone, either, I want to focus on instruction or we're going to put your phone away. It always just ends up to be a battle sometimes. We're taking the phone from a student and confiscating their phone so you can actually focus on learning. So that has been a challenge. And then the TikTok piece has been a challenge as well. There was a TikTok challenge with how to short out a Chromebook where they actually showed kids how to short a Chromebook and actually create a fire. And we actually had a few students who actually did the challenge in school and it was damage to the Chromebooks. And then, subsequently their parents had to pay for the damages.
Yeah, that's difficult. That screen time phone addiction you mentioned, superintendents have told me after a couple 250 of these conversations, they say, Josh, if we can fix screen time and phone addiction, the rest of this will go away. In a way, it's a lot easier to manage, but the kids have to have these devices, the apps and everything else. It's so crazy. So I have a few questions for you here, Superintendent. The first one, some leaders nationwide have mentioned that certain social media trends have maybe caught them off guard or their staff off guard. What kinds of social media issues tend to challenge your staff when it comes to student tech use?
I think it's one of the biggest challenges that there's always seems to be something new. And, you're trying to learn what these students are having an opportunity to be able to utilize. And you almost have to plant people in some of these different platforms or sites that they get on to try and get information. So the students started to use something, I think it was called Barstool. Well, I've never even heard of Barstool before in my life. So, but they were actually sitting here making comments about it. Adults making comments about other students, making comments about other kids at other schools. So it's like all of these new platforms that come out and trying to stay in front of them to be able to get some of the information to try and stay in front of it has just been difficult. Every time you turn around, there's a new platform that comes out that you have to try. And someone says, hey, can you check this platform? Kids are commenting there. And half of the time, I don't even know what they're talking about. And then we're trying to get individuals to try and check out these platforms to determine, if there's some information that we need to get in front of, or if there's something that we need to intervene and be able to support kids and make sure that all kids and individuals are safe. So the amount of platforms that are out there now where kids can access now it's become a difficult task.
Yeah, it's so true. And the Barstool one is definitely an interesting one. The next question I have for you is, when you talk with parents and teachers in the community, what do you think is the hardest thing for families to keep up with? Is it the new social media changes that seem to happen every hour, new AI tools that are popping up, or overall screen time habits?
I believe it's the overall screen time habits and the amount of time that students not only spend on a screen at school, but the amount of time that they're spending on a screen at home. And as a parent, how do you navigate and how do you limit the amount of time your child spends at home on a screen? And even as a parent, that has been difficult to navigate myself with my own children, but the amount of time that they're on their cell phone. It almost seems like kids need to be in front of some type of screen. So if it's not phone, it's an iPad, it's a television, there's some level of a screen. It's a computer that kids constantly, the amount of time that they have on the screen. If I had to pick one of the three, that would be the one challenge that we have, that our parents are having with their students when they come home.
Yeah, so true. It's so scary. Okay, the next question. We often hear schools and districts say that they feel pulled in so many different directions when it comes to digital safety and engagement. How can parents and the community work together with school staff to help students build healthy screen time and social media habits?
I think sometimes we've created our own problem. And when I say that, I mean this is majority of your districts across this country, and more so after COVID, ended up going one-to-one. So every student basically has a Chromebook, because when, you couldn't go to school for, a year and a half, where majority of kids weren't going to school, every kid was issued a Chromebook, and then majority of schools have kept up with that trend. I think what we have gone away from is the art of teaching and the art of collaborative grouping and the art of discussing and the art of having debate. Like, we've gone away from some of the traditional things that we did as classroom teachers in terms of how we engage students. Now, the engagement of students now is with a Chromebook. So once again, now we put a screen in front of a student And some of the teaching is through a Chromebook. So we have, to a certain degree, created some of the issues by the one-to-one initiative, where you really need to figure out a good balance between the amount of use with a Chromebook and the amount of use in terms of what I'm teaching. And the same thing goes for being at home. The amount of opportunity I have to sit and talk with my child compared to the amount of time that my child is scrolling in on their cell phone. It's really a balance. And I think we're a little bit imbalanced right now in terms of traditionally, what we did as children in school and also for play and different things compared to now.
I'm hearing that trend nationwide, Superintendent, that a lot of parents are saying, and a lot of districts are saying, maybe the one-to-one model isn't the right fit in the long run. Maybe we pull the Chromebook out of the classroom a little bit and we go back to that old school learning, pen and paper, nurturing the kid. Are you hearing that as well?
I am, very much so. And, I'm not one against technology. I think technology has a fit. What it can't do is it can't, from my standpoint, replace what a classroom teacher can do. Can it enhance? Absolutely. But it should never replace. And I think in some spots and places, that's what has occurred.
Yeah, and I want to throw this to the audience real quick. Jonathan Haidt wrote a book called The Anxious Generation, which I think everybody who's listening to this probably has heard about, listened to, maybe even asked AI for a recap of it. It's phenomenal. It talks a lot about how kids are getting anxiety because of the screens. He said something on stage the other day that I just blew me away, and it's so relevant in my opinion. I want your opinion on this. He said, in the last 2 years since that's come out, or 3 years, he said, I'm noticing the attention span of adults and kids has gone to a goldfish level. And sure, the anxiety is there, but the attention span and the focus is now minuscule. And he said, I think I missed that, and I didn't know how bad this would be. Have you heard about, seen that kind of a trend where now, even, I'm going to be vulnerable for everybody, even my attention span, Superintendent, I can't even tell you the last time I watched a full 2-hour movie. It's just like 30-minute stuff, 3-minute stuff, right? Are you seeing that trend with students and adults?
I absolutely. And, just truth be told as well, I think, even I myself sometimes find myself doing, number one, multitasking, doing 5-6 things at the same time. But then, trying to keep my attention on one thing for a long period of time. It's interesting you say that, because one of the things I did this school year is I had an opportunity to go out to local colleges. And I say, what do we need to do a better job of as kids graduate? There was 3 things. It was algebra and math is a struggle. The second thing was writing. And the third thing was exactly what you said. And the kids not having the attention span to be able to study and read a text. So here you are, you're reading a psychology class where the professor says, hey, you got 3 chapters for Wednesday and it's Monday. And you don't have the attention span to read 5 pages, more or less 50. And then also keep that material.
It's so scary.
It is. And like I said, the one thing I always say, keep the end in mind. So when you start thinking about how we prepare kids for post-secondary in life, we're really going to have to think through in terms of how we build up that stamina with kids when their stamina to be able to read text and to read. So that's been a challenge.
Yeah, I love that book. Keep the end in mind. For the audience members, that we host 50 plus live events, basically one every week. They're free parent events. We hope you'll come out to one. Last week, a parent asked this question, and we want to bring it in. It's too important not to mention. Parents are asking us, hey, Josh, what advice would you give a student to help them recognize some of the red flags of a dangerous stranger? Let's hear from a real teenager, a real student, about how she might help a friend recognize those red flags.
If I had a friend talking online to a stranger, I think that I would feel a little bit uncomfortable with the whole situation. I would advise against it because so many indirect issues can come from that, and it could cause something to be worse than if they had just unadded them in the first place. Some red flags that I would have to advise them to cut it off with this person or to stop engaging would be if the person starts to get very involved in their personal life and they seem to be very intrigued in what's going on with them and wanting to know all the little details about what they do and who they are, and just very personal details and things that you wouldn't normally share with a stranger in real life. If they're very persistent and constantly wanting to talk to my friend or constantly trying to be involved in their life or wanting to speak to them, I feel like that's kind of a red flag. Another thing would be if they ask them to ever meet them anywhere in person right from the start, if they feel a sense of being uncomfortable or their intuition is just saying it's wrong, or if my intuition is saying something feels wrong with this, then I think that's a major red flag.
Parents, remember, these are free events. Come on out. They're weekly live parent events and replays, but there's so many teens teaching the program. A lot of parents are saying, hey, I brought my daughter to that event and she rolled her eyes very little and she actually loved learning from these people. You also are entering for a chance to win all these different things we have. We have 3D printers, Bluetooth speakers, and Kindles, all really good for low screen time and fun family time. And we give them away every Friday, so come on out. And we have a premium parent newsletter, which is incredible. Parents, also, I want to remind you, if you're struggling at all on one of these topics, one of these apps, Smart Social's here to help you. We have the latest parent app guides that are complimentary on our site that are on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, Netflix, WhatsApp, and 450 more, but they're not just in English. They're in Espanol, Mandarin, and 9 other languages. We've got live events every single week. This one's in Espanol, and it means Snapchat and Instagram teen risks. Then we've got a variation number 3 of it in English. We've got an educator's version for teachers. We've got understanding social media, all kinds of different ones. So it's super exciting. Parents, we hope you'll join us for those to keep your kids safe. And you're automatically entered for a chance to win a cool prize. Okay, Superintendent, my next question for you. How do you see AI helping schools and students if it's used the right way? And what guardrails are most important to put in place early?
So I'll start backwards and I'll talk about the guardrails. I think one is, you really, and we are working on this currently right now, you really need to have a clear policy that's adopted by your board of directors in terms of, what's expected with AI. So that's where we are really starting first is what is our policy going to be and what are the expectations? So once you have that part, the teachers need to have a firm understanding of the tool that a student's going to be able to use. I think it's going to become what public education is down the road. There are some benefits to AI. I myself, as an older adult, have now started to use it a little bit more than I did in the past. So there definitely are some benefits to it. It's just being able to realize as a student, you don't want it to take away from your own learning. And that's the biggest key with AI is, once again, it's kind of what I said earlier, use it to enhance, but you don't use it to replace. And what you don't want kids doing is just using AI to solve problems, to write papers and do things, which is going to stunt their growth and their own development. Because instead of them learning and growing, they're using a tool which is actually doing that for them. So you're really teaching kids to use it as an opportunity to enhance what they're doing, but not replace what they're doing. AI cannot replace their own learning and what they need to do each and every day.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's so good. And we actually have a live event, not to plug our stuff, but it's a free live event called Using AI to Enhance Learning and Reduce Cheating. Because cheating, meaning a lot of teens were caught doing this. And you know what? They were just doing the easiest way out. And I get that. They're entrepreneurial. They got a math problem. They throw it into AI and they just write the answer down. And we had to encourage hey, let's ask it how to do that, what guardrails and so on. Speaking of which, my next question for you, some districts have said they wish they had more time to focus on student safety and parent engagement. What area would you tell other districts is the most important part to focus on to support parents?
Really keeping parents abreast on what's out there and what tools not only what tools their child is using in school, but also what's out there what their child could be using at home. And that's something that, as our district, we need to do a better job of in terms of really staying in front of communicating hey, here's a tool that your child is using in school. He can use ChatGPT for these following things. But then also, what does that mean for your child? How does it impact them? What are the right ways for them to use it? And then be able to educate them on, here's potentially what they could be doing at home. And then being able to educate them on, the pros and the cons, but also things that they need to be looking for. So those are things that as a district, we really need to do a better job of educating our community on, the benefits, but then also, hey, here are the things you really need to look at and make sure while your child is at home and that you're monitoring what they're doing as well.
Yeah, so well said. Superintendent, you took a lot of your time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
To all of our audience members, we welcome you with any questions you have on smartsocial.com, where we have those live events, hundreds of resources, multiple languages, and some of the most dangerous challenges. There's a lot of pages there. There's an army of people who really are supporting you nationwide in Smart Social, as we're in so many different states doing the research. We thank you for your time here today, everybody. And remember to always try and keep it light, bright, and polite when you're posting online, parents, because your kids are modeling what they see you do online. I'm Josh Oakes, the host of the smartsocial.com podcast and the founder. We'll see all of you on the next episode. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for spending time with the smartsocial.com podcast. If today's insights were useful, please share the episode with a fellow parent or educator and subscribe so you never miss our next conversation. And parents, make sure to join one of our next live online events each week to keep your family safe and also enter for a chance to win cool prizes. You can learn more at smartsocial.com. I'm your host, Josh Oakes, and parents, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite because your kids are watching what you're doing online. I'll see you on the next episode.